The Maurya Empire, Ashoka's edicts and Indian diplomacy of ancient times. As an empire from 322 to 185 BCE, it is safe to say that approximately 350 years ago, the Maurya Empire was India's big political and cultural influence. It also succeeded in establishing itself as one of the major empires in the subcontinent. Always known for his fascinating leadership skills, Emperor Ashoka has always been in the talks due to his method of governance that massively shifted during the period compared to the norm. His operations can be seen through the edicts of Ashoka, including liberal governance, which worked towards aiding the greater community instead of practicing violence. These edicts further show a model ruler who paid special attention to compassion and understood the importance of shedding blood in the eye of conquest. Regardless, what's most fascinating about Ashoka's rule are its enigmatic details. How did he go from being a ruthless warrior to totally embracing the concept of peace? What do you think were the diplomatic efforts he put in place to safeguard and nurture relationships with neighboring countries? These are possibly the most interesting questions regarding Ashoka and the Maurya Empire. Join us as we explore the intricacies of ancient Indian diplomacy and Ashoka's edicts' impact on the world. The Maurya dynasty, during the 5th and 6th century. A wish to destroy tyranny. Ashoka was born into the Shakya clan in the Lumbini region, present-day Nepal. According to religious scriptures, Ashoka claimed to be a descendant of the Kshatriya caste, tracing his ancestry to the Chakravartin kings. The Mauryan Empire is widely recognized as one of the most influential empires in India. Jinong stresses its contribution to shaping power dynamics in the region. This occurred in 322 BCE, when Chandragupta Maurya set up the empire after Alexander the Great destroyed ancient India and the dismissal of Indian kings. Ashoka, who became a notable king of the empire and the grandson of Chandragupta, turned towards Buddhism after the terrible conquest of Kalinga, which he ruled. His rule marked the peak of the Maurya Empire as he was able to promote culture, diplomacy, and trade in the realm. He helped India expand its reach by building robust trading routes that allowed it to develop internationally. During Ashoka's reign, India made huge strides in architecture, literature, and sculptures. The Maurya Empire lasted through a very long geographical range in Afghanistan and Bengal. There were many different languages and cultures, and while it may seem fragmenting to many, for India, the diversity proved beneficial as it allowed for a wide exchange of ideas, traditions, and art. To this monarch, strengths came by introducing new ways to govern, such as establishing division into provinces. The Maurya Empire showed indomitable strength and blew rivets at marks along the timeline of history, creating a lasting impact through their political and cultural ways in ancient India. Ashoka the Great. Life and legacy. Ashoka, more popularly known as Ashoka the Great, is an important historical character in the legacy of the Maurya Empire and ancient India. He is believed to have been born in 304 BC in the lineage of the grands of Chandragupta Maurya, the empire's founder. His early life was enshrined by ambition and military conquests, which enabled him to gain power through successful campaigns. Substantial, strenuous campaigns resulted in him establishing himself as a well-known ruler adept in strategy and leadership skills. Nevertheless, the Kalinga War completely altered his view of life and his reign. The war took place in 261 BCE, was extremely brutal, and resulted in too much bloodshed. Witnessing the devastation Ashoka went through, along with the loss of life, was life-changing for him. Thus, he was turned into a self-doubting person about the ethics associated with his conquests. This life-altering experience forced him to change his thoughts and the policies he used to employ. However, contrary to his past beliefs, he adopted the principles of Buddhism that let him abolish violence and choose a path free of aggression. The idea that Ashoka had a sense of moral leadership is born out of his inscriptions that seek ethical behavior, the welfare of people, and regard for all creations. He also upheld the Dharma, where he urged peace and goodwill within and outside his empire. He was not only a strong king, but also promoted the doctrine of ahimsa, which many world ethics and leaders refer to today. Ashoka's metamorphosis after the Kalinga War is one of the striking examples of the possibility of change and redemption of a leader, contextualizing the Ashoka's edicts. Ashoka's edicts are one of the most interesting sets of inscriptions that collate a great deal of information about his governance and ethics style. These edicts, inscribed on pillars, rocks, and caves across his empire, are proclamations that spread the ideals of compassion, social welfare, and responsibility. The edicts cover various topics, including the promotion of Dharma, respect for all living beings, and the need for compassionate governance. They are instructive to people in authority and the general populace of the society in what is expected of them, a society based on fairness and righteousness. These edicts are crucial because they show Ashoka's ideals of a just and fair society. Following the Kalinga War, Ashoka's dream was to build an empire that valued peace above all. His edicts instruct citizens to be caring, forgiving, and understanding, for that would bring people together as a collective unit with a shared duty. Ashoka aimed to foster a society that respected people and their welfare by giving more importance to moral authority than to arms. Last but not least, the sites of Ashoka's edicts are also remarkable, extending through the areas now known as India, Nepal, and Pakistan, which are also of great archaeological importance. These include the well-known lion capital of Sarnath and the Ashoka pillar inscriptions located at Lumbini, the birthplace of Buddha. These sites are not only of historical relevance, but play an important role in understanding ancient India's political and cultural history. These edicts, which are now more than 2,000 years old, have archaeological importance and continue to attract researchers and visitors, insisting on the role Ashoka played in efficiently managing society and preserving peace. Ancient Indian diplomacy, features, concepts, and practices. In the same regard, during the reign of the Mauryas, the concept of foreign relations was a political game and closely constituted ethical conduct. This principle of Dhamma stemmed from Buddhist precepts and was influential in Ashoka's approach to foreign relations. It was much more battered to non-violence, but consideration of all living things and peace during diplomatic interactions with other countries. This ethical principle has also enabled Ashoka to develop relationships with other nations based on dignified appreciation. Peaceful coexistence was significantly characterized in India by the Sri Lankan civilization and the treaties that marked the diplomacy of Ashoka. One of the great efforts in diplomacy was the letters he exchanged with the states of the Hellenistic kingdoms about the empire of the Seleucids. Ashoka invited them to establish friendly relations, and treaties were made to enable the trade and exchange of culture. As if these diplomatic efforts alone were enough to spread Buddhism beyond the Maurya Empire, we can only imagine how impressive the effect they had. The Mauryan Empire's diplomacy touched upon various states and cultures, such as Ashoka's Dhamma ruler principles and governance, which resonated with other kingdoms, fostering cooperation rather than competition. Suppose such ethical principles were able to govern the Mauryan Empire's diplomacy. In that case, it sets the pace for all future South Asian international relations. History recognizes Ashoka as a diplomat and peacekeeper, which resonates with his efforts during his life. Buddhism's contribution to diplomacy. For Ashoka, Buddhism was an important tool he readily used for diplomacy. This was especially expressed in his efforts to maintain peace and cooperation with the regions under his empire and the region after the Kalinga War. The war was pivotal in his life as he switched from a militaristic point of view to a more trade-oriented one. Expanding the economy and bringing about business opportunities bettered his relations with other states, and aligning his teachings with Buddhism allowed him to bestow peace across the region. During Ashoka's rule, Buddhism began to expand further than its traditional boundaries, and this expansion was used as one of the primary tools of foreign diplomacy. Ashoka himself dedicated resources to teaching and promoting religion all over Asia. He sent emissaries to places like Sri Lanka and Central Asia to educate them in Buddhist philosophy. These efforts ensured a two-way engagement of ideas and culture. Also, they strengthened international relations because these nations embraced compassion and good governance principles espoused by Buddhism. Ashoka's time witnessed a Buddhist international. Not only were relations between nations enabled and upheld by moral standards, but diplomacy became a practice. Due to the focus on non-aggression and tolerance, the coexistence of nations changed, prompting rulers to understand the need for such an approach to life in their countries. Ashoka's application of Buddhist principles as an instrument of foreign policy increased the authority of his state. It contributed to the establishment of good, peaceful relations that would exist in the region for many centuries. While historians debate the impact Ashoka has left, if not on the entirety of the empire he ruled over during his rule, the debate tends to change the time of his reign. It is a fact that Ashoka had a commission in the expansion of Buddhism, which is evident through the transitions he created. The real debate begins with how far these ideas traveled and what they achieved. There is a divergence in the opinion of scholars. Some consider Ashoka's cultural transformations rather deep, while others debate that the empire's geographical boundaries restrained him. Ongoing archaeological discoveries continue to shed light on Ashoka's legacy, revealing a variety of inscriptions, artifacts, and sites that provide new information on his reign. Lumbini and Sarnath sites, for example, have shown Ashoka's devotion to Buddhism and diplomatic activities. Such evidence strengthens our grasp of Ashoka's rule while fitting within the greater context of ancient Indian history, ensuring that the enigma of Ashoka remains and inspires other avenues of inquiry into his history. This video gave us a wonderful look at the Maurya Empire, especially Ashoka the Great. We examined Ashoka's edicts and their implications, encompassing the morality of ruling and proper behavior, and a precursor to diplomacy. These objects show the great concern of the emperor for peace and compassion, not only in his empire or states in an immediate area, but also in the surrounding cultures. Even today, the ideals contained in these edicts are still proof of the impact of clean leaders on the peace and relations among the nations. We also traced back to the Maurya Empire's implication about the present. The promotion of Buddhism and the vision of a just society that Ashoka promoted has contributed immensely to the socio-political evolution of South Asia. Moreover, his diplomatic skills, coupled with his ethical style of governance, bring much more to the ethics of politics and international relations. We now ask you to interact with us as we end our virtual tour and delve into the era of Ashoka and its peculiarities. If you like this video, consider subscribing to our channel for more historical videos. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and share it with all your friends interested in history. Your encouragement allows us to keep investigating and telling the fascinating tales of our history. We appreciate you taking the time to watch, and we can't wait to show you more interesting snippets from history.